Hi everybody, my name is Alice Medrich and I'm delighted to be here at the Berkeley Public Library right before Valentine's Day. Some of you who go back a long way in the Bay Area may remember me as the founder of the Cocoa chocolate dessert shops in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Some of you may be readers of my 10 cookbooks, and others of you may have come to my classes. Okay, so let's get started. Today I'm going to do a very simple, embarrassingly simple cookie called chocolate wedding cake cookies. They're inspired by the traditional Mexican wedding cakes, only I have substituted all of the nuts in the Mexican wedding cake for chocolate. In this case, we're going to start out with 2 cups of chocolate chips. My favorite brand, local company, Guitar Chocolate. 2 cups of it. When we talk together, I'm sure you're going to want to know all the different other kinds of chocolates that can be substituted in here, but the easiest thing is a bag of chocolate chips. That's 11 or 12 ounces, and it's 2 cups. And on top of that, just 3 tablespoons of sugar, and a little bit of salt, half a teaspoon of salt. 2 cups of flour goes in there. And then the whole point, and this goes into the food processor, and the whole point here is to process until the chocolate is in tiny little bits. And when you go in there and feel with your fingers, it'll be like feeling chocolate gravel. The flour will be stained chocolate, and the pieces of chocolate will vary from coarse sand to maybe the size of lentils. So let's get going. This takes maybe about a minute, and you'll have to check it a couple of times. I'm going to stop now, even though I know it's not ready. Can we look in here, I wonder, just to see how not ready it is? The flour is not yet stained chocolate, and the chocolate pieces are way too big. Most of them are still the size of chocolate chips. So I'm going to go a little longer. Let's do one more test here. I'm reaching in. The flour is now kind of tan, almost chocolatey. Honestly, this is not a precise task here, so a little more, a little less is still going to turn out to be a good cookie. So let me just... Okay. We're going to call that done. And the last thing to go in is the 2 sticks of butter. I know that when we get to talking, one thing I didn't mention to you is if you wanted to vary this cookie a little bit, you could grate in the zest of a lemon, of an orange, for example. You could add some spices. We can talk more about the ways to vary this and make it your own. But otherwise, the 2 sticks of butter in chunks, something between squishy and firm is the right texture for this butter. But again, there's no precision to this recipe, so you kind of can't mess it up. Okay, so the butter goes in, and then the last ingredient is a couple teaspoons of vanilla extract. Meanwhile, of course, we've preheated the oven to 325 with a rack in the lower third and the upper third, because this recipe will make 2 sheets. If you're baking one at a time, you'll just put a sheet in the center of the oven. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to process until the butter and the flour and all of these ingredients come together, and it'll make a dough that you will recognize. And we'll stop and have a look at this a couple of times. It takes longer or shorter depending on how squishy or firm your butter was. You just wait until it all happens. So we're just going to check and see that it's not yet pulled together as a dough, but you can see that it's starting, so let's just continue. Okay, so it's just about there. I'm going to give it a couple little more seconds, and then whatever loose flour, we'll just push that together with the spatula. Okay, so we just want to make sure that any loose flour is mixed in there, and the easiest way to do that is often just to take out the blade and transfer the dough into a bowl, and then either with your fingers or the spatula, make sure any of the dry flour that's not mixed in gets mixed in. See, there's always dry flour at the bottom here, not worried about that. We're going to just mix it in. Okay, so moving it into the bowl just gives me a chance to mix in any stray flour. You can get in there with your hands if you want, or with the spatula. Fine, just to make a cohesive, even dough. And you can see that there's flecks of chocolate in here. Now, I know that you're all going to want to ask me what other kinds of chocolate we can use, and what if you use something that's sweeter or less sweet, and we can talk about that after the demo. Okay, so once we have a cohesive dough, a cookie scoop or a tablespoon or what have you, we just want little sort of tablespoon size or 18-gram little lumps. And I've learned over the years that this bakes off better if they're round. So after I scoop, I kind of go back. I am a fuss budget. I go back and actually make them rounder. They come out with a nicer shape. So just to show you the scoop. And this recipe will make 24 cookies if you keep to my size, and that's 2 trays. So now I want to go back in here and start rounding. You maybe want to see some of the rounding up. Okay, so when these are all rounded up, they're about 2 inches apart. I'm going to stick them into preheated 325 degree oven, and it's going to be, 18 to 20 minutes. And they come out of the oven, they're a little bit crackled on top, they're not too soft anymore. And when they're warm or when they're cool, at your leisure, you can sprinkle a lot or a little powdered sugar on them. Just makes the presentation nice. And because the cookies are not that sweet themselves, the extra sugar doesn't hurt a thing. One of the things that we can talk about, I'm sure you're going to ask me, is what about gluten-free? What other kinds of chocolate can I use in this recipe? What about vegan? What about recipe variations? And I hope we can have a discussion about that. What I love about these cookies is they're crazy, crazy easy, but the finished cookie is actually a little bit elegant and kind of an adult chocolate experience in that they're not too sweet. They're very, very chocolatey. And you can even vary that. Once you've made them once or twice, you can increase or decrease sugar. Over the years, I've done this so many different ways with so many different chocolates, and this is it.